Hello to all of you. I am Harshavardhan Bhende, a practicing counsel before the Bombay High Court. I also am the founder and principal advocate of Regulus Advocates and Consultants, a law firm based in Pune and also having its presence in Mumbai. I've been practicing for just over 10 years now, and in my short span of my legal career, I've had the privilege of appearing in various types of matters, either before the Bombay High Court or before the Supreme Court. So I look forward to having a nice, wonderful conversation with all of you today. So I've been tasked with speaking about a very interesting topic, a topic that's actually very close to my heart. The topic is prominent lawyers in the Indian freedom struggle. Now, I personally am a connoisseur of history. And when I was given this topic, it just felt right for me. This topic is something that, as lawyers, a lot of us are not aware of. Maybe because we've not been taught about it in our schools or during our time in law school, or because we have just not had the time to read about these individuals. Lawyers have played a crucial role in helping India not just gain its independence, but also understanding and fighting against various policies of the then imperial government of Britain. So we need to understand as to why these lawyers played a crucial role. It'll also give us a brief understanding as to who these lawyers were. The lawyers that I intend to speak of are people who are not that famous. So I don't intend to speak about Mahatma Gandhi or B.R. Ambedkar or Jawaharlal Nehru or even Motilal Nehru for that matter. But I intend to open up the doors to 4 legal luminaries who existed during our freedom struggle and played a crucial role in combating the British government, the imperial British government, in the courts of law by fighting against various policies of the government. So the first lawyer that we're going to actually speak about is Ganesh Vasudev Joshi. Now, Ganesh Vasudev Joshi existed between 1828 to 1880. Ganesh Joshi was a prominent lawyer of his time. He was instrumental in fighting for the rights of peasants in the Pune and the Maharashtra region, especially against policies of the then British company, which is the East India Company, that existed in India, and also in allowing the layman to understand what the policies of the government really were. He founded a institution known as the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, or rather the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, where he also had people like Justice Ranade being a instrumental part of this institution. The work of this institution basically was to break down the policies of the government, to break down the laws and make them easily accessible and understandable to the people. And the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha laid the foundations for what would become the Indian National Congress in the future. An interesting case which Ganesh Vasudev Joshi is known to have fought is to defend the father of armed revolution, that is Vasudev Balwant Phadke, who was arrested by the British and was actually to be sentenced to death. However, the manner in which Ganesh Vasudev Joshi defended him in court, the court actually considered his arguments and instead overturned the death sentence to a life imprisonment. Now, the next person that I intend to speak to you about is a person by the name of Manmohan Ghosh. Now, Manmohan Ghosh, again, was a contemporary of Ganesh Vasudev Joshi, although he was somebody who was based in Calcutta, considered as one of the first practicing barristers of the Calcutta High Court. He did his law in England, and while practicing in England, he realized that the British government was unjustly trying its colonies, the people of its colonies, by using unscrupulous methods. Mr. Ghosh took it upon himself to fight for the rights of these people. He did so before the courts of England, and thereafter, when he moved back to India, continued this fight in the courts of Calcutta, of the Calcutta High Court. He's also known to have been a great proponent of women's rights. So he's laid the foundations for the various women's rights and social reforms related to women in India. This is a person that is virtually unknown in our history. Very few people actually know about his contributions to the legal sector and also to our overall freedom movement. So the next person I intend to speak to you about is Madan Mohan Malviya. Now, all of us know of him as the founder of the Banaras Hindu University, but very few know that he was a prominent lawyer practicing before the Allahabad High Court and had expertise in the field of civil as well as criminal law. One of his landmark cases was when he defended the accused of the Chauri Chaura incident, and he managed to get an acquittal for 156 of the accused of the 177 that were totally accused in the case. Madan Mohan Malviya's work has largely been in the field of interpreting the law for the common man, and therefore his work as far as educating has been a landmark for the entire country. So the final person that I intend to speak to you today is the great Bhulabhai Desai. Bhulabhai Desai enrolled as an advocate in 1905, is considered even today as one of the greatest legal minds that this country has produced. One of the two landmark cases that I will speak to you today are the Bardoli Satyagraha case, where he represented farmers that were accused by the British government during the Bardoli Satyagraha. He handled this case along with Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Unfortunately, the transcripts of his argument are not available anywhere, but from the research that I managed to get, some of the arguments that he did were close to outstanding. Another case that is widely known amongst the legal circles and is a crucial part of our history is the iconic INA trials case of 1945. Now, as you all know, that the erstwhile INA army and its soldiers were put on trial by the British government for charges of murder as well as treason. The erstwhile Congress party called on Bhulabhai Desai to be the chief defense counsel to represent the soldiers on trial. It is said that Bhulabhai Desai argued for 2 straight days, that is 10 hours in total, where he made submissions that the enslaved nation has the right to engage in a battle in order to overthrow a foreign ruler. He also said that in international law, when 2 governments are at war, the combatants acquire statuses of belligerents, and the soldiers cannot be tried for murder under the local municipal law. Furthermore, he said that amidst clash of arms, criminal law becomes silent. He was one of the few people to have urged the courts to firstly grant the captured soldiers the statuses not just as regular prisoners, but as prisoners of war. Now, the arguments obviously had a long-lasting impact on the courts, and the courts actually overturned dropped the charges of murder and held the soldiers guilty of treason. Rather than executing the soldiers, they were dismissed from service, and that basically set a landmark in as far as international law is concerned or even criminal law is concerned. In fact, various researchers have stated that the arguments that Bhulabhai Desai did in the INA trials are the most iconic arguments that any lawyer would have done during his time. So what I could speak to you today in this very short time was only 4 of some of the unspoken heroes of our legal past. But there are so many people, there's so many lawyers who have made huge contributions to not just the legal sector, but to also ensuring that their fight for freedom through the courts of law, laid the foundations for India's freedom. So I would urge all of you that while we often read case laws, while we often read various books on law, we should also do a little bit of reading about these long lost heroes, because their trials, their abilities to ensure that policies were challenged in the courts of law, not just on the streets but also in the courts of law, had a long lasting impact, and they still do even today. So I urge all of you, read more about these people. You'll be in for a treat.